Cody Sipes, my business partner, partner in crime. He's the older, wiser one, I like to say. So he likes to say he's the taller, better looking one. So you can decide. He's been in the industry a little bit longer, was the IDEA Program Director of the Year in 2005. I was the PFP Personal Trainer of the Year in 2014. So you can see a little bit younger. So I only highlight that to make note of really the first time the fitness industry recognized someone that was primarily working with what you would call the senior market. Now, I don't like that term. You're going to see that in my presentation, but it's the first time the industry really said, hey, here's someone primarily working with seniors, and won the Personal Trainer of the Year award. In fact, before that, I'd been nominated for some, and there were a couple times where it was like, oh, that's kind of nice. It's so nice what you do with older adults, but wasn't really in the running because I wasn't training athletes or having these amazing weight loss transformation stories, you know, where people lose 150 pounds or something. So that's really not about me, but it's about the industry sort of waking up to the reality that, like, this is actually not a tiny little niche. It's a huge, huge opportunity. So, all right, we're holding strong at 102. I don't know if that means people can't get in, Andrea.
Yeah, or... I wrote Greg, and you know, the cool thing also, Dan, as was noted last year, because I was the PFP Personal Trainer of the Year 2019. So, you know, the industry is definitely going in that direction, which is fabulous. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I was going to point that out, that it only took you five years after me. So I don't know if cancer is lagging behind the aging phenomenon or what. But so let me ask you a question. How long will you live? I want you to think about your longevity for just a moment. So just take a second. How long do you think you're going to live? And I don't want to sway you by saying my number or any number. So just give it some thought. How long do you think you're going to live? Should be long enough for you to have come up with some number. Usually people have it really quick. It's in your subconscious, or it's a number you fixated on. You can put it in the chat or the Q&A. Now I want you to add 15 to it. Right? That all of a sudden, some people I've seen people even jump in their seat before. They're like, oh my goodness, right? So how many of you now got well over 100? I'm guessing some people got to 110, maybe even 117. You can type that in the chat or the Q&A as well. We have to start thinking about how long people are living in this longevity explosion we're going to have. When we look at longevity across the developed world, South Korea, by the year 2030 is expected to have life expectancy beyond 90. Now, we've never seen anything like that. In fact, most life expectancies are still in their 80s for most developed countries. And when you think about life expectancy tables and charts, you have to realize these factor in infant mortality and childhood death and, you know, getting hit by a car and suicide and choking and cancer and all the other reasons why people don't live to 100, right? So to have life expectancy of 90 means your society on average is going to be living to 100 if they survive all these other causes. And so people are going to be living a really, really long time. And we're seeing it in many different countries. In fact, South Korea, about the year 2030, Andrea, it's really interesting, is going to start declining in population because their country has gotten to that age. In fact, they have not had a birth rate anywhere near 2 for quite a long time, a birth rate of about 1.2, 1.3. So they haven't been replacing themselves. So their country is actually going to begin declining in population as more people are dying. So it's an interesting tip when you start to realize South Korea is going to get to the point where over half their population is over the age of 60. It's wow. Sort of a staggering thing. And then you look at some of the cultural implications for that. South Korea is a beautiful country. I've been there. My daughter was born there. Well, they have a cultural expectation that after the age of 65, you're not going to do anything, right? So, I mean, you're going to take it easy, and we expect you to take it easy because we respect you, and we expect that we will take care of you, and you're not going to work, and you're certainly not going to do. And then we realize that's probably not going to be a great cultural strategy when a third of your country's in that age range, and we're telling them not to do anything or be active or even work, right? So we're going to see cultural implications for this longevity explosion. You can see where we are right now here in the US. We're hitting a steep climb. We're going to see the 65 and older population just explode in our country like we've never seen before. And you think the conversations about Medicare and Social Security are about to go away. They're not. They're going to become even more dominant because more and more and more people are going to be in that age range. And then if we look out to about 2030, you see the baby boomers start turning 85 in big, big numbers, and we're going to see a doubling of the 85 and older population from about 2030 to 2050. Now, that doesn't look like gigantic numbers, but when you think about today, we have a little bit less than 10 million people over the age of 85, and we're headed to over 20 million. You start to think about hospital care, dementia wings, assisted living facilities, retirement communities, all of the systems that deal with people 85 and older. And then we start to think about the positive, right? Like, it's fantastic that people are living longer and there's going to be more people alive in their 80s, but are they going to do it really, really well? And that's really where we come in. So the market of 50 plus, which Andrea is in, by the way. So the market of 50 plus is exploding.
Wait a minute, but I only live 39 and a half.
Right. She, like the average woman in her 50s, she thinks she's 39, right? But she knows better. She's wise enough to know. It's a massive market, right? 100 million plus and growing. In fact, the 55 plus market is now 100 million plus. And it's expected to grow at about a 33% growth rate. Whereas the 18 to 49-year-old market over the next 20 years is only going to grow about 10 to 12%. It's going to be fairly steady, nowhere near the growth. So the question is, which market do you want to plant your flag in when it comes to fitness business? Well, for me, I think it's the 50 plus market. And then the overlap with that in cancer and exercise is really a slam dunk, because again, the vast majority of our cancer diagnoses are going to be in people 50 plus. In fact, Andrea, I think you shared a stat like 60% of cancer diagnoses are people over 60.
And you know, you have also, first off, I have to say that since you told everyone how old I am, they're all—
I didn't tell them how old you were. All I said was you're in the 50 plus. That's all I said, is you're in the 50 plus.
But anyway, you know, I'm also a 36-year cancer survivor. So you have, yes, the percentage being diagnosed, newly diagnosed, absolutely, you know, in that older, you know, parameter, if you will. However, we still have millions and millions of people who are adult survivors of childhood cancer, and many of whom have, you know, never received the appropriate information on, you know, oh, these are the acute contraindications, these are the chronic contraindications. And that's what we get into, is not only dealing with the right here, right now, but also dealing with the things that people are more predisposed of as a result of having been through cancer treatment. So we really cover the full spectrum, but with the emphasis on the, you know, boomer or aging population.
Yeah. Getting a message from somebody couldn't get in. So, hey, the 100 of you that are here, kudos to you for getting here live and on time. For those watching the recording, sorry you couldn't get on live. We did have 100 limit today, the upside and downside of technology, I guess. So you know, I won't ask you, Andrea, if you're a baby boomer or not. I don't think you are, but
I know, I'm a year shy.
Yeah,
no,
you're a year shy. I'm pretty sure. So I didn't tell you how old she was, but you know, she's not a boomer.
Put me into the 50s category. I may as well just say I was born in 1966.
There you go. So she's a Gen Xer, and we happily claim her. 1946 to 1964. This is the baby boom, the classic baby boomer generation. There are 76 million plus baby boomers, ages 55 to 73. Now, this year is kind of a significant year in that all boomers are now 55. In fact, most of them will be turning 56 here in 2020. And so now they're all in that 55 plus category. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of people who are 55 who don't even like being associated with baby boomers, right? I get that. So it's just a term. It's just a label. You know, sociologists look at it as a generation, and then Gen X, for some reason, people try to squish into 1965 to 1980. I have no idea why. Some like to start the millennials at 81 to 99. It's just something for us to look at. The reason we think it's so significant is it's the largest generation in U.S. history. and they're living longer than previous generations. The people 55 to 73, when they were born in the late 40s and early 50s, their life expectancy was in their 60s. Many of them have already lived well beyond their life expectancy and would probably laugh at the idea that their life expectancy was 67 or 68, right? Here they are at 70 going, well, I'm going to live 15, 20, 25 more years, right? They're living far longer than was ever estimated back in the 40s and 50s. And so they're going to be with us for a long, long time, right? And then we got the Gen Xers coming behind them, right? So there's good news for me and Andrea. We're going to turn 60 someday too, and then 70, and that's going to tip our country older and older than it's ever been in its history, which I think is a great thing. It's a great thing that we're living longer. The question is, are we going to do it really well? Absolutely. It's the perfect storm. I hate to use hurricane type images with tropical storms beating down on our country at the moment, but it really is the perfect storm. The numbers, the need, the desire, the finances, and the lack of competition. There just are not anywhere near enough fitness professionals focused on this market. There simply are not. So Fit Body Forever and Ageless Fitness are two examples you'll hear me share a little bit about. A couple of entities that are starting into this area. We do have some done few business models that I'll be sharing next week and the week after as we get into more of the business side of things. But I want to talk to you about who these people are, because I think if you look across the fitness industry, for the vast majority, you don't see clients that look like this, right? We don't see before and after pictures that look like this. We don't see clients that fit this profile, right? We don't even see people marketing to what I would call the unfit and the unhealthy. And in fact, sometimes we don't even like to talk about them. Here's Joanne on the right. She had Parkinson's disease. She was 80 years old. She could barely walk a block, but she wanted to go to the Galapagos Islands. That was her goal. She honestly had no desire to be fit. She didn't really want to work out. She just knew she needed to do something, and she knew personal training could possibly get her to the Galapagos Islands. They want to check off that last bucket list item. And guess what? After she checked off that item, you can see her here. So we don't use a before and after picture. We just show this is what she did, right? She trained with us for 6-7 months, and she got to go on this amazing adventure. She trained with us for 7 years. We basically couldn't shake her as a client, because once she realized, hey, I can keep doing stuff, keep living, I want to keep doing that. The last thing I want to do is go back to unfit and unhealthy. So she trained with us for a long, long time, till she was 87 years old. This guy, Dr. Summer, was 57 and wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro with his daughter. And he realized he did not have the fitness to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, and he didn't want to miss out. He's like, I don't want to just go on the trip. I want to be a part of it. I want to be able to summit with her, have that experience. The picture's not real clear, but that's Mount Kilimanjaro in the distance behind them. And they did get to summit it together. Huge, huge, huge thing for him, right? Nobody can take that away from him. He might lose his 6-pack abs, but he'll never lose this, right? So he was willing to put in the time and effort, train with us for a year to get ready for this, and then have a absolute fantastic experience. So great, great clients. I think the huge market segment is grandparents. I really, really do. As we see people become grandparents, we realize they want to connect with their grandkids, and in some cases, maybe even be a better grandparent than they were a parent, because now they have more time on their hands. They may have more freedom, more resources. They don't have to raise the child, so the kid doesn't have to live with them. So they can have all the positives and none of the negatives, right? So, I mean, grandparents are supposed to spoil their grandkids, right? They're allowed to do that. So they're allowed to indulge their grandkids. They're allowed to take these great trips. And so I share the story at the very bottom here. It says, Don, the tottering old grandfather. He came into us at 87, maybe 88 years old. And he was a little bit older grandfather on average. None of his grandkids had graduated high school yet. And he realized, I think he sort of had an aha moment. He said, you know, I am just this teetering, tottering old man. I can barely get on and off a plane. And, you know, getting through the airports is exhausting. Going to see my grandkids in Seattle. He lives here in West Lafayette, Indiana. He's like, going to see my grandkids in Seattle is just about all I can do anymore. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see them graduate high school. And I said, well, we got to change this, right? We got to do something. What are all the things you need to be able to do? And so he trained with us for 2 years until, I know he trained with us until he was 90. So 2.5 years, 87 and a half, maybe 88. And he wrote me this 2-page letter. And the letter basically said, I've changed my outlook on my 90s. Not only have I seen my first grandchild graduate high school, I did it and enjoyed it. The trip was fun. I was not tired. I'm no longer this teetering, tottering old man. And I believe I'm going to see all my grandchildren graduate high school, maybe even all of them graduate college, and I hope to see some of them get married, right? He had totally changed his outlook on what his next years were going to be, and he continued to train with us, I think, till he was 92. And then he moved into one of these super swanky retirement communities that has a really nice fitness center, and he's working out there. So we lost him as a client when he moved into a long-term facility. But he changed his outlook, right? And realized, I want to keep being a quality grandparent.
Absolutely.
Couples, of course, they want to continue to do stuff, right? Like, we don't raise our children and grow old and then be like, okay, now put us on the shelf, right? It's like, no, now I want to travel. I want to do things. I want to finally take those trips. I want to have time to explore my hobbies. Maybe it's more golf. Maybe it's more skiing. Maybe it's whatever it happens to be. But in most cases, you want to do that with your significant other. The mature market needs fitness. Cancer's on the list here on the right. Diabetes is here. And Andrea and I talked about this, I think, last week. There's a crossover in a lot of these things, right? And if someone gets cancer, they're going to increase potentially their risk for falls. If someone gets diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, they're going to increase their risk for cancer. I mean, there's an overlay of many of these, right? And what I say is none of these are a great solution together, right? It's not like, oh, I got diabetes. No, that's going to trigger other things, right? So all of these things, amazingly, fitness happens to be one of the best things. Unfortunately, it's not always the first thing prescribed or even encouraged or recommended. But we know as fitness professionals, we need to be out there educating people. Fitness can help prevent, minimize, and reduce these things, but it also can help manage and turn around many of these things. So fitness can help prevent obesity, but it can also help be the solution to obesity. So it's not like, oh, you have obesity, so therefore it's too late, right? It's like, oh, you have cancer, so now you don't need fitness. It's like, no. If you have cancer, you need fitness more than ever, right? And if you don't have cancer, you need fitness still more than ever, right? So fitness is a great prevention tool, but it's also one of, if not, in my case, I believe, the best medicine for all of these conditions.
Dan, can I interject something real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
I thought you said something maybe inadvertently, but that is very poignant, and that is that fitness professionals have to educate. And I talk about that a lot. There's a number of people on the call, Barb and Dina, who will know that I've said this over and over again, and that is that we need to get out there into the general public through these Facebook groups, through support groups, through churches, synagogues, mosques, you name it, and talk to people and let them know, because even though it's in the news, even though statistics say, even though the doctors say exercise, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. And so if we get out there, it's kind of like the old, if you build it, they will come. And it really does apply, you guys. You just got to get out there and start talking to people, even if you think it's cliche or it's already been done. It's not been done enough.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and as we look at it, the mature market needs fitness. It just absolutely needs it. This, to me, is a bit of a switch from, you can make the argument someone in their 20s and 30s doesn't need a personal trainer, right? I think people of all ages need fitness, right? But someone who's 27, they could probably get away with it for a year or two, maybe 3 years, right? And all of a sudden 30 hits, they're like, oh, I better do something, right? The mature market absolutely needs fitness. 80% have at least one chronic health condition. Arthritis and high blood pressure are the top ones by far. Well, we know that exercise fitness helps arthritis and blood pressure significantly. 50% have 2 or more. Again, the common combination is arthritis and high blood pressure. And we know fitness is the thing they need. They don't just need a pill or a medication. In fact, a lot of times we can manage arthritis pain and we can reduce or eliminate high blood pressure through fitness. We don't just need to prescribe a pill. I love this one. I tell my kids this is broken or funny math, right? 85% of boomers say they don't eat their fruits and vegetables. Look at that. I don't know if that's a tiny carrot or a little strawberry, right? 62% say they're obese or overweight. Nearly 1 in 5 admit to exercising less than once a week. Think about that, exercising less than once a week. So I guess that means you're exercising once a month. Less than once a week is not very much. I can't even imagine what I would feel like if I exercised less than once a week. I would probably feel terrible. 30% say they're often or always stressed. 80% think their doctor would say they are healthy, right? Like, I'm doing pretty good. Wait a minute. You're like 0 for 4, but then your doctor says you're healthy. So there's something broken in our medical system. And this is even taken from the Canadian Heart and Stroke Foundation, where supposedly they have universal free healthcare. So that doesn't necessarily solve all our problems. The reality is the doctor is looking at, hey, you don't have major cancer, you don't have major cardiovascular disease, you're not complaining about needing a joint replacement, so you're doing pretty good. Even though we know you're not actually healthy, you're just not really sick. So it is a problem. 52% say they get no physical activity. No physical activity. So this isn't just exercising less than once a week. This is, I'm not moving at all. Higher rates of hypertension, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity. Guess what? You put some of these together, you're going to have higher rates of cancer too.
Yep. Absolutely. I can't even believe that, because I've grown up exercising, but my mom's generation, I mean, they were told not to sweat. It wasn't ladylike.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How unladylike.
Not ladylike. I'll sweat.
Absolutely. Oh, I still continue to hear people say, especially women, I would say 75 plus, but even women in their 70s are like, oh, am I going to have to sweat? Because that's gross, right? Or that's not ladylike. So there is sort of a generational cultural thing there. And I think some of it's even Title IX. Right? I mean, Title IX has opened up athletics to girls, that it's a normal thing for girls to run around, play sports, sweat, be sweaty, get sweaty.
Yep.
That was not present for many girls, sadly, in the 40s and 50s. So when they grew up going to school, they got to watch. They did not participate. They were not encouraged to participate. In fact, in some cases, there were not sports for girls at all in their school programs. So they didn't grow up sweating and running around doing those things. So that's an educational thing.
Even if you look at like I don't know what they called them back then, pom-pom girls, or I know they had a different name for it, but my mom has pictures from, maybe it was the 50s, and, white patent leather, high boots, and, the go-go boots and everything, as if they were really going to work up a sweat in that. It's like, go team! Right,
exactly.
They weren't doing splits and flips and all of that.
Yep. Yeah, different time. So as we look at the hierarchy of physical function, we like to think about keeping people in the top 4. So elite athlete through higher independent. I'm not saying people have to be fitness stars. They don't even have to continue to be downhill skiers, but they've got to stay in the higher independent category. They have to be able to continue to take walks with their grandkids, hikes, do things. You can't travel to see your grandkids if you can't function, right? If you slip into the frail category, your quality of life is going to change dramatically. And so we want to warn people in that lower independent category, which I think a large percentage of our baby boomer population is living. We need to warn them that you can't stay here. Your one incident, your one illness, your one accident, your one sickness, your one cancer diagnosis from slipping to pre-frail or frail. Yeah. And then we make the mistake of saying, oh, well, grandma got cancer and now she has to use a walker. It's like, I don't think so, right? It's not that grandma got cancer. It's that grandma was in such a low functional status when she got cancer, she never bounced back from it and didn't fully recover and didn't get a fitness professional to help her bounce back and climb back from what cancer did to her. And it's not just cancer, right? I mean, it could be a fall in your driveway. It could be an accident. Your dog could trip you. You could get a major illness. It could be COVID-19. There's a variety of different things that could take you from lower independent to frail and even dependent. We know individuals in the lower independent and pre-frail category fall every year and never recover fully. they wind up in a frail or dependent stat. So you can monitor the Q&A and chat for me if somebody asks a question.
Yeah, I am. I'm in there. I'm writing.
Okay. So if somebody asks something, great, I'll answer it.
Yeah, I'm doing it as quick as I can, guys.
Sure.
So for some
The
reason,
mature market wants what fitness can give them. They don't necessarily want fitness. I want you to write this one down because we make this mistake as fitness professionals because we love fitness, right? We're like, oh, we love working out. We love to break a sweat. We love to go for a run. We love to go for a hike. The mature market wants fitness, but they rarely want the actual act of it, right? They want what fitness can give them. They want health and longevity, hobbies, adventure, work. They want to go do stuff fun. They want to have the energy. They want to be productive. I don't think this is a human characteristic, Andrea, and for all you listening, I don't think there's a human characteristic in us that says, I can't wait until I turn 65 and be completely useless to everyone, right? We just don't have that. Now, we might all say, I can't wait till I can retire, but usually what we hear people say is, I can't wait till I can retire so that then I can do all these other things, right? Maybe it's spend more time with family. That's usually a high one. It's I want to spend more time on this hobby. I want to finally get to write my book. I want to do this. Right? We have this long list of productive things we want to do. And so that's a huge one for a lot of people. They want to continue to be productive, do things. And obviously energy, function, all these other things play a part. So as fitness professionals, we have to be thinking about how does our fitness program relate to this? How does it communicate this? How do we make sure people realize I'm really about giving you more life? I'm not just about improving your VO2 max, your body composition, all these other terms they don't care anything about, right? So we have to make sure we keep it focused on how we change their life.
I like this a lot. That's a really, I can see that on a brochure, you know, when we talk about what are your selling points, and I have specific ones with cancer as they relate to treatment and recovery, but all of that can be included, and it's very subtle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It can be very subtle. It's just as simple as changing some of your headlines, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a headline like, you know, who wants to give the grandkids a run for their money, right? It's not about the grandkids. It's about you being a great grandparent. And so we talk a lot about need to do, like to do, and want to do, even dream to do. And I tell people, if you're only doing need to do stuff, you're not really living, right? Like I need to take the trash out tonight. Not exciting, right? It's not really living. I need to empty the dishwasher. I need to go to the grocery store. There are a lot of need to do things. That's not really living. Like to do is, I like to go hiking. I like to go for a bike ride. I like to travel. I like to, whatever it is, right? I like to do things, want to do things are probably things I do less often. I want to go to Colorado and hike in the mountains, right? I want to go kayaking, you know, in some lake, right? So want to do things are things I probably do less often than every day. So our fitness programs have to be able to train people to do the things they like to do and want to do with greater ease, less pain, and greater enjoyment. So then they're hooked on us, right? I mean, they can't put us down because we allow them to do life and do all the things they want to do. The mature market can also afford fitness typically at a greater rate. That doesn't mean they're all going to spend their money with you. I know I've had wealthy people say no before because they don't want to spend their money. That's a value proposition. It's not just a cost proposition. So typically the number one objection when selling fitness programs is, what does it cost? It's too expensive. I can't afford it. The number two objection is often time. I just don't have the time right now to commit. So those two objections definitely get less as people are over the age of 55, and even less so as they're over the age of 65 and 70. If they're retired, the objection of time in most cases goes away. Not completely. They're still busy. They're doing things. They might be watching their grandchildren. And in a lot of cases, the objection of money is reduced. So can you see my cursor, Andrea, as I circle this one right now?
Yeah, and I'm writing to see if you guys can still hear the audio because somebody just wrote in and said the audio stopped.
Can you still hear me, Andrea?
Hear us.
Can you hear me? Andrea, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Dan, yeah.
Okay, all right. An average of 48% of their family's budget is spent on non-essentials. So you have to sort of let that sink in. That basically means the mature market doesn't have the big expenses that so many of us do, like mortgages, saving for college, a lot of these big expenditures, even saving for retirement for a lot of people in their 70s, that's already been done. They're now spending that money they save for retirement. So when you realize they're spending 50% on non-essentials, right? So not on utilities and not on shelter, not on their mortgage, not on the 50% just on discretionary spending power. They have more spending power than younger people do. And it makes sense logically. I mean, when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're paying a mortgage, you're saving for the kids' college fund, you're putting kids through private school, you're buying your first car. I mean, you have all these major expenses that your finances are going to. Well, thankfully, you know, when you get into your 60s, those things start to shift.
Absolutely.
The 50 plus economy is a gigantic economy. When we look across the world, in the United States alone, the 50 plus economy, the longevity economy, is larger than Japan and France entire nation's economy combined. Let me say that again. If you look at Japan and France combined, their economic activity is in line with our 50 plus, their entire country's economic activity. It's absolutely staggering. And a lot of times people say, well, yeah, but they're spending so much on healthcare. Well, actually, they're not spending that much on healthcare, because once you get to 65, Medicare jumps in. So a lot of the healthcare spending is actually from people 50 to 65. And it's $1.6 trillion here on this slide. It's a large number, but they're spending twice that in consumer spending, right? So if you think the 50 plus is spending a lot on healthcare, they are, but they're spending twice as much just in consuming, buying cars and boats and houses and vacations and trips and you name it, right? So they're spending $3 trillion in consumer spending, larger. Their consumer spending alone is larger than the entire economic activity of the entire United Kingdom. The entire economic activity, it's absolutely just phenomenal. It's unbelievable. So, and they're also very generous. So if you think they're not generous, 70% of charitable giving is coming from this age range. Bloomberg, I didn't realize when I put this quote in last year that Bloomberg was going to be running for president. But aside from that, this actually comes from Bloomberg's magazine. But Bloomberg says boomers don't want to just spend money on things they need. They have the dollars and the desire to splurge on the things they truly want. That's not even just a boomer thing. It's sort of an age thing. You get to a certain age and you say, okay, now I can splurge on the things I want because I don't have to take it out of my kid's college fund, right? I mean, this is always a conversation my wife and I have. She's like, well, can I buy this thing? Or I say, hey, can we take this trip? Or I want to buy, you know, should we buy a new couch? And it's always, well, which kid's college fund does it come out of, right? So that's sort of the joke, right?
Yeah, they should be getting athletic scholarships.
We may have made the mistake of having too many children, right? We have 5 children, but you do at a certain age realize, wait a minute, it doesn't have to come out of anybody's college fund, right? Everybody's through college. The house is paid for, right? So now I have the money to actually splurge on things I really want. So here's the tricky part. People sometimes hear me talk and they're like, oh, you're just making it sound like boomers have lots of money. We need to take advantage of them. That's not it at all. What I'm positioning is that they have more spending power. That doesn't mean they'll spend it with you as a fitness professional. They might go spend it on something else, right? They're happy to go out to a fancy lunch. They'll go get their nails done. They'll do something else. They might take a $10,000 trip. We have to make them desire to splurge on a fitness program, right? We have to make them desire to want to be the fittest, healthiest version they can possibly be. We want to be one of those things they're splurging on. So I think we're doing good on time here. I was going to check that. Physical function is so critical. We're not just selling fitness. We're selling a total outlook on life. We're selling the ability for people to function really, really well. So there's a cognitive piece. There's a neuromuscular piece. There's a musculoskeletal piece. There's a cardiovascular piece, cardiorespiratory, your aerobic, anaerobic, and creatine phosphate systems, your balance, and your mobility. Now, each of these, I think I have the screen. Yep. Each of these obviously is more complex, and we can go deeper and deeper. There's so many different levels on these that people can go. And so in our functional aging specialist program, we focus on these 6 domains of function. And how do we take a balanced, robust fitness approach to how we program for people? Because we know we can't just get people stronger. We can't just say, well, let's just work on strength training. Right. When we look at this chart, we realize, well, wait a minute, that's just one small piece. It's no wonder there's over 100 research studies showing You can get people dramatically stronger and change their function almost none, right? Their function barely improves at all. Well, yeah, when you look at this chart, look how complex it is. If really I look at the research studies, and what I find is most of them are doing concentric strength only, right? They're not isolating the eccentric motion. They're not doing any isometric, which is very functional. So I'm getting one small little tiny piece off in the corner and then expecting the person in the middle to all of a sudden function way better. It's like, no, they still have terrible motor control. They still can't negotiate obstacles. Their balance is poor. All we did was get them stronger, right? So we have to do everything.
Well, and it's interesting because looking at your chart here in the cancer exercise specialist programming, we're taking all of these components as they apply with the side effects of cancer treatment or surgeries. And it even, you know, it's exponential because you take the average person who had no illness and they're dealing with all of that, and now add cancer and cancer treatment on it, on top of it as well. And you can see how that just perpetuates the issues. I love this 7 doors.
Yeah, I do too. my kid's favorite is Farty, of course.
Leaky's pretty good too.
Yeah, not quite as funny though. I don't think they find that one funny. So, but here, this just drives home the point that we're all a little bit ageist. So if you're 18 to 64 watching this, this is what 18 to 64-year-olds believe, and that's the blue line. If you're over 65, you should be laughing at this, realizing that people under 65 just miss it completely, right? They just grossly overestimate how terrible it is to be 65, right? I mean, 57% of us 18 to 64 think people have memory loss over the age of 65. It's nowhere near that high. It's only 25%, 1 in 4. Not able to drive. Okay, now some of these don't make sense, right? So not able to drive, 45%. Not sexually active, 34%. I'm just like, what? Somebody's lying here. This doesn't even add up. But the reality is only 21% say they're not sexually active, which means 79% are still getting it on. And surveys show in many cases they're getting it on quite regularly. So that's enough about that one. Loneliness, trouble paying bills, being a burden. Almost every single one of these people 18 to 64 think it's 2 to 3 times worse than it actually is. It just drives home the point that, man, if you're under 64, you just think, boy, to be over 65 must just be terrible, right? And the reality is we miss it by quite a bit. In fact, it can be absolutely fantastic. Banana George Blair lived to 98. He was still water skiing in his 90s. I don't wait for the next thing to happen. I make it happen. What a great way to live. We've confused illness with the process of aging. We can be thoroughly healthy. Illness is not a necessary part of aging. To grow old is not to be sick. At least it does not have to be. He was a world masters rowing champion at 94. He actually set some world records in the 100 and 200 meter sprint, and he lived to 97 years old. And he did not start working out until he was 81. He's a retired dentist in the UK. And he actually has inspired many fitness professionals to realize you can continue to be fit later in life. In fact, I've had some trainers say, I never knew you could be healthy past 70. I'm like, what are you talking about, right? It was just a notion that, well, the older you are, the sicker you are. And it does not have to be that way at all. I mean, here's Ida Keeling at 99. Look at that plank position she's in at 99 years old, right? Very functional, obviously has upper body strength. I don't think I can do what Johanna's doing there. You can still find her doing gymnastics, and there's videos of her even in her early 90s doing gymnastics. And she's right. Stereotypes of weak older people hurt us all, right? Which is why she likes to show younger people what's not even possible for them, right? I don't think I could do what she's doing. So we have to have a belief that this is what 88 and 99 should and could look like. Christy at 60, breaking barriers, Sharon Stone, right? Like, we didn't normally put women on the covers of magazines. Why not, right? Well, there used to be this concept that, you know, once you were over a certain age, that you no longer were a cover model. I think Christy just turned 70, I believe, or maybe she turned 65. She just hit a big age number. Here's Ernestine Shepard. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the oldest female competitor to take the bodybuilding stage, I believe at the age of 80 or 81. So I'm about to wrap up. If people have questions, go ahead and start typing those in.
Yeah, I'll translate for you,
Yeah,
Dan.
if you're a fitness trainer, I have to ask you this question. How does your ideal client interpret their value needs? And how does your fitness program fulfill them? So they have some identity, right? It might be a grandmother. It might be an account executive, an attorney. It could be a golfer. Their identity could be a volunteer. They're civically minded. Their identity might be to read to lower income kids in schools that need help. They have an identity, right? And they have relationships with people, right? Whether it's their spouse, their kids, their grandkids, maybe it's a golf group. They have a purpose to their life. It might be volunteering at church. It could be spending time with their kids and grandkids. They want their life to have some purpose. Adaptation's a big one. We go through a lot of adaptations as we age, and sometimes we underestimate these things like retirement, downsizing, empty nesting, taking care of our aging parents, watching our parents pass away, and now we no longer have our parents in our life, and grandkids come along, and maybe great grandkids, and there's a lot of adaptation. You can spend 40 years in the same career, and then all of a sudden you step away from that, and guess what? You don't adapt immediately, and your identity changes, right? Because for 40 years you were a dentist or an attorney or a teacher or whatever it was, right? And now that's not your identity anymore. And of course, energy impacts all of these. So how does your ideal client look at what you do as a fitness person and say, oh, their fitness program is going to make me a better spouse, a better grandparent, a more energetic volunteer at my school, is going to allow me to take care of my mom better, right? How does your fitness program make them better or more empowered in these 5 values? Well, here's 2 guys as an example, a couple of golfers adding distance to drives and years to lives, right? So very quickly, golfers are going to be like, yeah, that's something I can identify with, right? That hits my identity, that hits one of my purposes, and it definitely hits a relationship too, right? I want to get out on the golf course with a couple of my buddies. Now, these guys are 62 and 57, and they both spend over $10,000 a year on personal training. So don't underestimate the power of golf. Anybody want coffee? It's 2:15 here in Indiana, so it's coffee time, right? So Starbucks coffee, really smart business model. They drop themselves into Target. Now, I'm sure they do this into other types of, I think they do other grocery stores as well, some of the Krogers. It's a brilliant strategy for both Starbucks and the grocery store, right? Starbucks doesn't need to go build a building, and guess what? Starbucks is going to get every Target customer that walks through the door. And a chunk of them are going to get through the door and go, yeah, I could use a Starbucks. Or they're going to leave and say, yeah, I'll get a Starbucks on the way out. Right? I mean, it's a brilliant strategy. And oh, by the way, some Starbucks customers are going to be looking for Starbucks on their phone. They're going to wander into Target, and all of a sudden they're now shopping at Target. Right? So it's a win-win. I use that as an example because a lot of personal training studios, health clubs can add an older adult fitness program to what you're already doing. You already have a fitness facility. Why are you not training people at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, 3 o'clock? Why are you not training the parents, aunts, and uncles of all of your clients, right? So it's that picture. We like to say use every part of the pig, right? Why would you have a personal training studio and not be packed at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, 1, 2, and 3? Our fitness facility is busy at all of those hours because we're training clients who are retired, semi-retired, working, and everything in between. The everything in between is really interesting, right? People retire and then they start new careers. They become full-time grandparents and all kinds of other stuff. I'm like, you are busier than when you were working. They're like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, okay. So retirement can look very different. Fit Body Forever is one example of these. They run a functional fitness training program in their Fit Body Boot Camp. So it's a national chain. There's like 800 Fit Body boot camps. Sadly, don't ask me how many are open right now these days, but they run personal training primarily focused on the 60+ market in their downtimes, right? So 10 a.m., 11, noon, sometimes even in the mornings. They don't have a 7 a.m. Boot camp because people are working at that time. Nissan Trotter was a Fit Body Forever owner, is a Fit Body Forever owner in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, tiny little town of like 5,000. You can see he's the one guy here that kind of stands out. He even said, I had no idea there were this many old people in my market that would be interested in personal training with me. I said, yeah, because you never communicated to them. He said, it's an easy and beautiful way to add $100,000 a year to my boot camp. And he was running just boot camps primarily for people in their 30s and 40s. And now he has clients in their 80s, and he never even imagined that. So, and he loves them. Nissan is a lover of people by far. Joel Kokis in Lethbridge, Alberta, similar experience. They have 87 members with an average revenue of over $11,000 a month. Huge boost to their boot camp business. We also have another program called Ageless Fitness. That's for anybody, not just Fit Body boot camp owners. But I want you to think back to that longevity conversation in the very beginning. And I'm going to look at the chat and see what numbers you guys put in, right? If you're going to live to 100, or maybe you're going to live 5 years longer than you think, are you going to do it on the blue line or the orange line? Right now, we have to ask that question to our clients, because I tell people we're really not selling fitness. We're selling aging trajectory. We're selling longevity. We're selling lifestyle. Doesn't matter if you live to 87 or 97 if you're on the blue line, right? Nobody's going to complain that they lived too long if they're really healthy and vibrant and enjoying life. My grandmother lived to 99 3/4. We were really disappointed in her that she didn't make it to 100. We actually all took it for granted that she'd make it to 100 because she was doing so well at 99, right? It never even occurred to us she might not make it. And then all of a sudden, 99 3/4, she just stopped doing well and died about 10 days later. But she stayed on the blue line. That was the thing. Like, nobody was really sad about it. Like, oh, I mean, we were sad. We missed grandma, but nobody was like, oh, it wasn't like she was robbed of 10 years, and it wasn't like she spent 4 years suffering, right? She didn't at all, which is, I think, why we took it for granted that she was going to live so much longer. We don't want to spend 80 to 95 below that disability threshold. We don't want to have other people taking care of us and not having a high quality of life. And so that's really what we're selling. More examples. I'll jump through these because I want to get to questions. But Shelly Turk opened a studio in Saskatchewan, of all places, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. She was the only one. The only one. Think about it. The biggest city in Saskatchewan. She was the only one doing it, right? She's now doing over $400,000 a year, and she just opened late in 2016. Brian Stecker runs Boomer Fitness in Vancouver, Washington. Again, he's the only one. Vancouver, Washington's a city of about 250,000. He's the only one. He's the only game in town. That's a nice thing when you're the only fitness studio focused on the aging market. Now, he trains people of all ages. He has boot camps, he has personal training, small group training, and focuses on the 50+, but nice, thriving business. We do publish books. I'll talk more about that next week. The aging opportunity is huge. I talked about Gen Xers. They're coming. They're already turning 50. We've got at least one here with us, probably more. So I'll be turning 50 soon. The Gen Xers are going to be turning 60 in just 5 years, right? The Gen Xers are coming, and they're coming in big numbers as well, about 60 million of them, right behind the baby boomers. So we're going to see this massive population of 55+ continue to grow, and then the 60+ continue to grow. And that's why we're going to see the over 65 population is going to become a dominant population in our country. And there's still 28 million what we call traditionalist or seniors, right? I typically don't call baby boomers seniors, even though they're as old as 74 years old. So huge, huge opportunity. Our program, the Functional Aging Specialist, that packages really nicely with the Cancer Exercise Specialist, is 13 educational modules, 5 hours of video, about 5 hours of reading. It's approved for CECs with just about everybody. I don't have CanFit Pro on the list. There's one in the UK. There's a lot of different places you can get CECs if that's your primary motivation. I do have a free gift for you guys. And then this is it. So we'll do questions, Andrea. So you can grab this book for free if you would like more marketing tips. I've got it here. Andrea's got hers, so I can show off mine while she's showing off hers. So great resource. It is 64 pages. If you go to that link, you can get it for free right now. Get the ebook. If you want the physical book, the actual book shipped to you, then you got to go to a different website. And I'll type that in the chat. So, all right, I'm going to try to take a look at the questions here.
Yeah, the ages were pretty cool. We had somebody who says they're going to live to be 115. I thought that is awesome.
Sure.
Kind of ranged.
It's definitely doable. It's definitely doable.
Yeah, we got 119, 112, 100 to 110, over 100, 150, 115, 85 to 100. I guess I aimed too low. I put 93. We got 84. So kind of all over the board there.
Cool. Any questions at all?
During Q&A as we go along, but if you guys have anything, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, and for those of you on the recording, first thing, sorry you couldn't get in. There was a live limit of 100. Hopefully we'll get that fixed for tomorrow so we don't have that again. But I know I've seen a couple messages and Celia's asking me, hey, what happened? How come people couldn't get in? I was like, well, there was a limit of 100. So first come, first serve. But if you're on the recording, sorry about that. And feel free to email us questions. So you can reach out to us, just reply to the emails. All right, I just tried the link and it didn't work. That's weird. fasmarketingbook.com. You might have to put www in front of that, or you might not. I'm not sure which, but it should be working. I checked it earlier.
Yes, Kelly and everybody, there will be a recording of this. It will be posted in the Cancer Exercise Functional Aging Kickstart Facebook group, and you will be sent, it just cut out, and you will be sent the link. So it will be coming to you in 2 different ways. My
screen share cut out?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, I turned it off so I could go see if the link was working, because I was like, what, it's not working? That's weird.
Yeah, and I'm excited tomorrow. I'll be talking to everybody about exercise and cancer prevention, cancer recovery, and long-term survivorship. And, you know, throughout the week, we want to show you this just amazing market opportunity. And beyond increasing our business, I personally, and I'm sure you would say the same thing, Dan, it's so rewarding, you know, when you're working with people who truly appreciate what you're helping them do beyond just aesthetics. And not to say that that's not rewarding as well, but, you know, when I can truly turn somebody's life around by showing them how to correct things that are causing them pain or keeping them from doing the things they love, it is amazing. And I know there are a number of people on with us today who are cancer exercise specialists, and I'm sure there are some that are already functional aging specialists, and you guys are welcome to chime in if you have anything to contribute to the group.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer a couple questions because I honestly, I'm giving that book away for free, and if you go to that page and enter your name and email, you're going to get the book for free. It does, I forgot, Andrea, it takes people to a next page. Okay. Where they can buy a sales training video. Don't buy that. Just click the no thanks, I don't need this now. And once you click the no thanks, I don't need this now, you're good. It will say thanks for your order, and there'll be a video of me holding the book. So I forgot there's a second step there. So just click the no thanks on that, and the ebook will be in your email shortly. So so tomorrow same time. All Andrea, so you guys won't have to listen to me 2 days in a row, so that's good.
You might want to. Leaky is asked, I'm sorry if I'm saying the name wrong, do they need to have CPR qualification to get FAS?
Yes, they do. And here's how that works. It's pretty much on the honor system. So it's going to ask you at the end of the course. So you don't have to have it before you begin. But when you go to get certified and you pass, there's 3 exams. So there's a part 1 exam, part 2, part 3. When you go to pass the 3rd exam, it's going to ask you, are you CPR certified? And it's basically going to just ask you to enter something there. And so it's really on the honor system. Like, I'm not going to come down and check out your CPR certification. So I don't recommend that people lie on that. You should be CPR certified, but just so, yeah, just so people are aware. So I don't know if you require that for your certification or not, but we do for ours.
Same
so.
thing. Same thing. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
commonplace. We don't require first aid, although that's not.
No, we don't require that either. Just CPR. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, what I tell people, it's all about, actually, this brings me to another point, you guys. When you are working with special populations, whether it's the, you know, active aging, whether it's cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, whatever it is, you need to have some specialty training. So just like CPR, not only is it protecting your client, it is protecting you, because it could be construed as negligent. You know, why are you working with this population when you're not trained in CPR? So this is, you know, it is good for everybody. And we require that our cancer exercise specialists go through, we retrain every 2 years. So they have to take another exam. And this is very unusual in the industry. And because specifically with cancer, everything is changing constantly. So we update the materials, you get new videos, you get new books, and you have to retest. And that's how we maintain the highest level of standards, at least as far as cancer goes in the industry.
Yeah, I see our famous anonymous attendee who we have on all the time. Are we able to work on both certifications at the same time if we are signed up for both? I mean, I want to make a joke and say, can you walk and chew gum? But yeah, of course, you can work on both. You're probably going to want to take chunks of one and then chunks of the other. But the FAI course is about 10 to 12 hours to complete. Andrea's cancer course is probably more like 15 to 20 hours to complete. And we're going to hold your hand through that the next couple of weeks to really help you plug along kind of day by day. So Andrea's going to take a day and work through some of the content. Then I'm going to take a day and work through some of the content. So you can definitely work through both. There's a synergy between them, but they are separate content, you know. So, you know, you work a couple hours on one, you know, I would equate it to courses that are very similar, right? It's like if I took a biology, a chemistry, and a physics course, right? They're all science. I can take them all at the same time and plug away. So you definitely can do that. So.
Yeah, sorry, I'm answering. Dina Christie's out there saying the cancer course is really hard, as it should be, right? I mean, if you're working with cancer patients, and I know,
right.
Dina's just messing around. She's got her own journey right now, and you know, what draws us, you know, we're talking about the financial reward, Dan, in a lot of this presentation, which is amazing, and we all need that. But at the same time, you know, what draws you to this? Why are you guys here? You know, how can we help you? Are you looking to increase your bottom line? Are you looking to just create another level of training for yourself? Or do you have a family member who has cancer or who has Alzheimer's or who has diabetes? What brings you here? And maybe you can answer that tomorrow. I look forward to talking to all of you guys. And like Dan said, we're gonna give him the day off tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll wrap it up with this. You know, I would say, you don't just get the functional aging specialist or the cancer exercise specialist to add more letters to the alphabet behind your name, right? I mean, that's a nice thing to have another credential, another certification, but the real thing is you want to become better at serving these clients and then be able to communicate to them why you're an expert, right? I mean, there are people in your market that are over 55 that need a trainer that knows how to train them well. There are people in your market that either have cancer, have survived cancer, are going to get cancer, that need to have an expert in their market that's going to do a great job taking care of them, serving them, being compassionate, understanding. Like, hey, if you're recovering from cancer, you don't need a trainer that's just like, yeah, let's go, I'm going to beat the heck out of you. You need someone that understands. So the reason you want to get this education and learn more is so that you can be a better trainer, better prepared, and that differentiates you in a crowded market. It really does. So So I look forward to tomorrow, Andrea, where you're running the ship, and then I will be back on Wednesday. We got a full week of this, so
Yeah,
thanks everyone for being on live, and for those of you on the recording, hopefully we see you on live here.
Yeah, so you'll get an email with the recording, and again, you can go to the CES FAS Kickstart Facebook group. It will be posted there. Oh, and Dan, I am going to now upload a workbook for you guys
Cool.
that you can then download, and you'll be able to kind of work through it yourself, little assignments as we go through this week. And hopefully that will help you hone in on your own personal goals and aspirations.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.